riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me, as always, co-host extraordinaire, Annie Wilkes to my Paul Sheldon, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how you doing, my Christmas buddy?
Garrett, what percentage of the homeless population in the Big Apple do you think are undercover FBI agents?
I knew you were going to ask me that. 35%.
Garrett, I'm not doing great. Not doing great.
I didn't realize the two were connected. No. I should have, I guess. What are we talking about?
I cannot say on mics.
My goodness. This is supposed to be a festive episode, Tim, so maybe we want to hit the rewind button and start anew. Aside from probable felony charges pending, how you doing this week?
Real scared for my future, Garrett.
Not the reset I was hoping for, but somehow slightly better. Glad to hear it, friend. Tim, it's that special time of year where you and I come together to celebrate, well, you celebrate Jesus, I celebrate a jolly fat man who brings me things, but we both celebrate the same way, and that is with the band ICP. The Insane Clown Posse has visited our home once again, this year to leave us with another masterpiece. That is to say, Tim, what album have we been listening to for an entire week in celebration of this time of year?
Well, Garrett, for the pinnacle of our Spooksember, the spookiest week of the spookiest month, we are doing, obviously, the spookiest album by the spookiest band of them all. For our annual ICPissmass celebration, we have been listening to and will be discussing their incredibly spooky album, The Mighty Death Pop, released in the spooky month of Spogust in the spooky year of 2012.
Spogust.
Garrett, listen, I know you are going to say that once 2023 rolls around, we must be done with the spookiness. Mm-hmm. I will have you know that Grant, a 36-year-old man, wrote in to say that the spooky times must continue, and he suggested January.
God, I saw that. So, two things. One, great job, Grant. Two, and I really hope this doesn't insult you or Grant. Do I know Grant?
I don't think so. I think he has the first name of somebody we went to college with and the last name of somebody we went to college with, but it was not the same person that had the first and last name when we were in college.
No shit, really?
Yeah.
Because that last name is specific, and we won't out him here on the show, but I didn't think anybody else was named that.
It was two guys from Houston. One was named Grant something, and one was named something something. The third something being this guy's last name.
How terrifically complicated.
He's the right age, though.
Okay, also confusing. You sure that the guy we knew in college wasn't named Grant?
Yes. Not the one with this last name. It doesn't matter. No, it's a different person. We don't know this guy. Grant, do we know you? Write in.
Grant, do we know you? Write in. hatePodMail@gmail.com. Boy, I feel better, though, because I thought I had just kind of, well, I guess I still forgot that other guy. Anyway, we're here to talk about ICP and the Mighty Death Pop. And to that end, Tim, I will ask it right at the very tip top. Do you hate this album?
Ooh. What a good boy you are.
Had to be said.
Garrett, I don't know. It's bad. Like this one, this might be the worst ICP album that we have listened to for the ICPissmass, at least while we've been doing the podcast.
Right. The recorded episodes. Right. We, of course, have been doing this for 20 years.
But you mentioned this a few weeks ago. I hate it less than I should, and it might be a Stockholm Syndrome sort of thing. It's really, really bad. It's bad, but I don't know if I hate it. I want you to get me there, though. I ache for you to get me there, Garrett. Yeah, all of that. What about you, friend? How do you feel about this?
Well, excuse me while I hose off your assessment. Gino, we're going to need some soft scrub. It's not bad.
It sure is. That is untrue.
Yeah, it's, I don't hate it. I'm going to say that right up top. It's not good. It's not, I think it's not the worst one we've done by them, but it's by no means the best.
Which
I
one is
that
worse?
Yum Yum Bed one.
That one's pretty bad too. I think we got to go back. Okay, here's what we do next week. We go back, we listen to all the albums, all the ICP albums that we have done on the show, and then we rank them. That's our episode.
Here's the thing. The ranking will require some amount of justification.
Oh, yeah.
Each
whole
one of these
episode.
is like 18 tracks.
But we've already listened to them. You get those notes. You get to refresh yourself. You just listen to it maybe once or twice. That's that. Okay, if we listen to each album twice, that equals
Like
the
18 days. We've done at least 4 albums, right?
This is number 5, and I know because this is it doesn't matter. We've done 5. You're not great
Did we
at
do it
counting.
the first year?
We did. Yeah, this was.
I'm not great at counting, but I'm great at listing. And so we got Death
damn it.
Pop, Yum Yum, Jekyll, Bang Pow Boom. What's the 5th?
The Great Malenko.
Malenko.
The Mighty Death Pop. Yum Yum Bedlam.
Yes. Okay. It was Malenko. Anyway, no, I don't hate it, Tim. It's not good. It's not their worst. I think Jekyll Brothers might have been their worst. God, I don't know. Anyway.
We'll know next week.
I don't know if we should do that. Oh, we shouldn't do that next week. If anything, that should take the place of an episode. That's an episode's worth of work, not a prep.
Well, sure, it will. We'll do a prep episode after. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll work out the logistics of what we do regarding ICP.
I feel like you're just going to steamroll me and I'm going to end up listening to like 6 albums. I don't want to do your thing. Anyway, you don't hate it. I don't hate it. We're both very easily going to get there.
What if we come up with an elaborate ranking system where, okay, we have like a set number of points where we rank. Okay, so we rank.
Get out the gold stars, Gino.
Yes, we rank the concepts first, okay? We rank the raps, we rank the guest stars, we rank the beats, we rank the ability to stick
complicated
to the overall theme. We give whichever one is shortest bonus points. That's important.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Okay,
Yeah,
listen,
well-
I don't hate this idea. We'll talk more about it afterwards.
All right.
But it shouldn't be the next episode we do. I need a rest. Yeah. I barely got to the end of this one this week. I'm not joking.
I know. It's going to be hateable.
Okay, various planning out of the way, Tim. It is customary, though I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Before we can talk about the band, I have to ask it, what is your history with ICP, and if any, with this Mighty Death Pop?
Full-blown juggalo, never heard this album before. No, I mean, I've obviously heard, I have a great deal of history with these clowns. Not true clowns, obviously, these juggalos, these pretenders to the clown throne.
Clown posers?
Clown posers.
Closers?
Ooh, pounds. No, closers.
It's closers.
Yes, always the first one. You know, obviously we've done this for like 5 years in a row now. We've been listening to these guys every Christmas since I met you. I have a great deal of history with them. I don't like them. I don't like their music. I don't like the way it sounds. I don't like the vocals. I don't like the lyrics. I don't like the music. I don't like their aesthetic. I don't like their soft drinks, their pop, if you will. None of it is good. It is bad, and I want nothing to do with it except for 1 week every year on Christmas, and also this year, the first week of January. Garrett, what's your history with this album and with this band?
Yeah, you know, what Tim said. That's my history.
Fair enough.
Let's not waste any time, guys. This thing is like 18 tracks long. Yeah, that's your history. That's my history. That is to say, I have no history outside of your and my shared history. Which brings us to the history of the band, where normally I would say, Tim, take us on a journey. Help us understand who are the Insane Clown Posse and how did the Mighty Death Pop come to be. But this is no normal year. This is an ICPissmass. Tim, may I just take a brief moment to stop and properly say happy ICPissmass to you?
Garrett, a happy ICPissmass to you as well.
Thank you very much. Back to the matter at hand. As this is an ICPissmass, we like to change it up. Tim's done the history 3 times, maybe 4, 3 times. I've done it once, so we thought maybe it's my time to do it again. And rather than just begin and diving right into the history, and I'll believe you me, it will be truncated, I thought, Tim, it would only be appropriate to begin with the customary reading of 'Twas the Life Before Shaggy.
Ooh, I like this. Now, I have to mention one thing before you do this. I'm probably going to go in and bleep every time you say Shaggy, Too Dope, or Violent J and insert Joe Brew or Joe Utz in
That
there.
sounds like a lot of work, and if you want to invest in it, have at it.
Fair enough.
My only request is that you make it the same volume as everything around it, though I'm not sure you know how to do that. Frustrating. This is, of course, to commemorate the time in which Mr. Violent J and his brother captured and murdered a butterfly. 'Twas the life before Shaggy. 'Twas the early to mid-'80s, and out in the yard, 2 boys caught a butterfly. It wasn't that hard. Safe in his jar, the boys went to bed, but when they awoke, their butterfly was dead. They cried and they wailed and they made such a clatter. Justice was due on this murderous matter. They swore to be good and never to sin. It was the only way that they'd make it in. They'd go up to heaven on the day that they die, and they'd get to say sorry to that butterfly. That boy is long gone, and all we're left with today is a makeup-wearing clown that goes by Violent J. Merry Pissmass. You know, when it's just the one guy clapping, it's almost a mockery.
Oh, sorry. I have instructed our audience of interns, all of course dressed as juggalos, to shut the fuck up because we're recording.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I'm sure they wanted to clap.
They did.
Also, they have made a mess with their face makeup.
Oh, yeah. It's very itchy, and they've been rubbing their faces on everything.
And frankly, I think I own a good piece of this. I insisted they begin wearing it when we began the ICPissmass week.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
I see that now. Okay, Tim, let's get into the history. You and I know it almost by heart, but in case you're a new listener, welcome, and what a weird time to start listening. The history of ICP begins with Mr. Joseph Bruce, J or Violent J, and Mr. Joseph Utzler, Shaggy or Shaggy 2Dope.
They met in Detroit. Joe Utz. Go ahead.
Nobody calls him that. The two met in Detroit in the mid-'80s, and the boys bonded mostly over their shared love of wrestling, backyard wrestling, building backyard wrestling rings, and then wrestling in said backyard ring. They also enjoyed hip-hop to some extent. It remains unclear how much. Jay had a difficult time growing up, and after a rival gang attacked his mom's house, he had to move in with his friend, the Rude Boy, in a different state. While he was there, he formed a gang called the Inner City Posse. After stealing some car radios, Jay was arrested, again, and jailed for 90 days across 1989 and 1990 for robbery, violating probation, and making death threats. When he got out, he, quote, reduced his involvement in gang activity, end quote.
I'm gonna need at least a percentage on that.
I would say like 80%, maybe 90.
That's pretty good. Good for him.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of... Well, he had to, Tim, because he then began performing under the name of his gang, the Inner City Posse, with Mr. 2Dope and some other guys who I didn't write down, and they self-released an EP called Dog Beats.
Ooh, next
In 1991,
year.
In 1991, they stole local rapper Esham's horrorcore style, although they unanimously decided not to mention Satan like he did in order to avoid the Dark Lord's wrath and remain good Christian boys. But they did decide to start talking about demons and the dark arts and wearing a lot of face makeup.
Now, you do believe them to be good Christian boys, right?
Oh, the best.
Okay. More
they
on that
use a lot
later.
of euphemisms in their writing to reference Christ without actually having to say it so that they don't lose their scumbag fan base. More on that in a bit. They changed their name to the Insane Clown Posse with the change in style to more of the horrorcore and started to do all that face paint thing as a result of the success that their previous hype man, who also painted his face, seemed to be having. So by 1991, they've stolen the horrorcore thing, they've got a new name, and they've stolen the face paint thing to basically become an amalgamation of mild successes around them. Let's see. Jay then had a dream in which, quote, spirits in a traveling carnival appeared to him, end quote, and used that as the basis for their running theme of the Dark Carnival and Joker card albums.
Okay.
And at this point, I'm going to pause and ask, had he not had that dream, what is the ICP mythos? It's probably more just murder.
Yeah.
Although they also don't really stick with the theme
That's
that
true.
much,
It would probably just be 2 songs shorter on every
that'd
album.
be nice.
Yeah. Here's, for our listeners, listen, we all have dreams of the Dark Carnival, right? Once or twice a month, probably. You wake up in a cold sweat, you're screaming about the clowns and how they're trying to drag you down. Just ignore it. It's bullshit.
Don't make a hip-hop album.
It's a fucking dream. Nobody wants to hear about your dreams. Would you like to hear about one of my dreams?
No.
Anyway, so I used to have this dream when I was a child, recurring dream where instead of night occurring because it got dark outside, it stayed the same amount of light and your eyes just stopped working for like 8 hours a day. It was terrifying.
You go blind?
Yeah, everyone went blind for like 8 hours a day. You just kind of...
What a weird dream.
yeah.
So would you go to bed in your dream?
Yeah, well, you'd have to. You're blind. What are you going to do?
I don't know.
And
Get a
this
dog?
right here is why you don't base an entire stupid career on that. Listen, if this podcast was entirely about that one dream, terrible podcast.
Or we'd at least have a few less episodes.
Or more. There's a lot to it, Garrett.
God, don't tell me. Don't
There's
care.
a whole mythos.
I know we've said it before. Frankly, you said it no less than 2 minutes before you began describing your own dreams. Don't tell people about about your dreams. No one cares. Yeah. Unless I'm in it and we're fucking or you're killing me, I don't want to hear about it.
Garrett, would you like to hear?
I knew that was going to happen. I deserve it. Back to the history, Tim. Their first album, The Carnival of Carnage, featuring Esham and Kid Rock, was released in a 120-mile radius of Detroit in 1992. They then released an EP called Beverly Kills 50187. Clever. During a performance of one of their songs, during which Jay called the audience juggalos, it quickly caught on, even though rock critics suggested maybe they shouldn't go with that, as it is incredibly close to the racial slur. Although that one is wildly outdated. I can't tell you the last time I heard somebody say that. Have you?
Thursday.
Stop hanging out with racists.
Listen, I volunteer at a VFW, okay?
Oh, yeah, you can't stop hanging out with racists.
Yeah.
Their second studio album, Ringmaster, in 1994, was much more popular. They started including references to Faygo soft drink products in their lyrics and soaking live audience members at their shows. In
God,
1994,
I would be so pissed.
I'd be furious.
If you are a juggalo, even how sticky Faygo is, it's still going to clean you somewhat, but I'm not a juggalo, and I would be furious.
Right. We came to the show having used conventional means like soap and water.
Right.
In 1995, they signed a contract with a Jive Records subsidiary and released their third album, Riddlebox. The record label didn't promote it, so ICP promoted it independently, most prominently in Dallas, Texas, where they got a bunch of stores to stock it on their own, which is actually a fairly difficult thing to accomplish, and for once, I will commend them for doing something right.
Disagree. The world does not need this.
Then their manager got them a $1 million contract with Hollywood Records, a subsidiary of Disney, and recorded their fourth album, The Great Malenko. Disney asked them to change some of the lyrics and drop a few of their songs, or they wouldn't release the album, so ICP made the concessions and the album was released. Disney quickly then began getting pressure from the much-hated PMRC, or Parents Music Resource Center, and so Hollywood Records recalled the album within hours of releasing it and canceled the tour, music videos, and all commercials before dropping them from the label entirely. So then our clown friends signed with Island Records, who released the original version of the album with no concessions made, and it went on to sell an astounding 1.7 million copies. Fuck you, Disney, apparently. But not us. We're not saying that. Please, God, sponsor us.
Yes, we would like to be on your Disney Plus.
Yeah, we could fix your Star Wars problem. Except for that Andor. Boy, that's a good show. Anyway, in 1999, they released the amazing Jekyll Brothers and got Snoop Dogg and Old Dirty Bastard to perform on it. Snoop Dogg was paid $40,000 under the table without involvement from his record company. Old Dirty Bastard was paid $30,000, but his recording apparently was just a bunch of rambling about bitches and couldn't really be used. Ice-T recorded a song and was only paid $10,000 for the honor, but it was cut entirely from the final album. Ice Cube was asked to contribute, but he passed on the opportunity. After this record came out, their record label Island Records merged with Def Jam Records, who promptly dropped them again. They also played at Woodstock, aka Goodstock 99, and were quote-unquote the highlight of the weekend. They followed up that album in 2000 with Bizarre or Bizarre, depending on what internet source you're reading, and now released, I think, on their own label, Psychopathic Records, though I couldn't be sure.
That was a double album where one was bizarre and the other was bizarre, right?
Correct.
Okay.
A bizarre bazaar.
Okay.
You know your Juggalo. This is also the same year they began the Gathering of the Juggalos, a 5-day annual syphilitic festival put on by the Psychopathic Records that features wrestling, games, seminars, chlamydia, contests, sideshows, and performances, all still going on to this very day. In 2002, they released The Wraith, Shangri-La, and in 2004, they released The Wraith, Hell's Pits. Somehow, in 2007, they released The Tempest, a faithful retelling of the Shakespeare play of the same name. In 2009, they released Bang Pow Boom from our now infamous previous Christmas episode. 2012 brought us the album of the week, The Mighty Death Pop. Next came The Marvelous Missing Link, Lost and Found in 2015. 2019 saw the release of Fearless Fred Fury, an album I think many juggalos hate, even people that are quote-unquote juggalos for life. In 2021, the band released last year's Christmas album, album Yum Yum Bedlam. There's really only one thing you need to know about these albums if you've never heard this podcast before. The albums of the Insane Clown Posse center on the mythology of the Dark Carnival, a metaphoric limbo in which the lives of the dead are judged by one of several entities. The Dark Carnival is elaborated through a series of stories called quote-unquote Joker's cards. Each of these offer a specific lesson designed to change the quote evil ways of listeners before the quote end consumes us all. This began with the first deck of albums called Joker's Cards, and this week's album, I believe, is the second Joker card of the second deck, which many people refer to as a money grab after the first deck was so successful and a lack of originality when they just implemented a second deck.
If you announce that you're going to do 6 albums and then you make 6 albums, stop making albums.
Yeah, or at least don't make 6 more about the exact same thing.
Ugh, we'll get to that later.
Yeah. But with that, Tim, that brings us up to date, and I get to say it, La Fez.
And a Shalabuff to you. That was nice. I like that.
Felt good.
Yeah. We should say, though, Garrett, I looked up their productivity.
Oh, no.
They have released 2 EPs this year, bringing them to a total of 16 studio albums, 19 compilation albums, a covers album, including Bitch Better Have My Money, The Jacksons, and Christina Aguilera, 11 video albums, 19 EPs, 3 box sets, 84 singles, 46 music videos, a bunch of Hollowicked EPs and singles that are not included in that, 15 other albums, including supergroup, quote-unquote, things they've done, other collabo albums, solo albums, 5 movies, and 12 wrestling appearances.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So successful.
Yes. Also, very recently, there was a guy that got his face tattooed to be to the Juggalo, stealing our idea, I think. I hope he didn't listen to get that idea from our show. I would feel terrible. I think, though, he got it from them. And I believe it was Tom Segura's podcast. Don't listen to that. Listen to us that he was on. And
you can listen to both, by the way.
No, we are direct competitors, and I will not allow it. Anyway, point being, he either Joe Brew or Joe Utz mocked this guy mercilessly to the point that this was repeated or was passed around on like Loudwire and other news sources, quote unquote news sources. I think this guy might have come across his idol making fun of him for his incredibly poor
did the
decision.
guy see it?
I don't know, but I
mean, it did get picked up in a lot of news feeds, and I watched the episode because I think that the ocean's big enough for both our boats, Tim. He's not a direct competitor. He really isn't.
Well, no, it's okay for us. We have to steal his ideas. You know how it works. Just don't listen to any other podcast.
Again, you can listen to any other podcast. Just make sure you listen to ours too. Now, quick sidebar, Tim. If they listen to our show, either way, whether they listen to other shows as well, how does that hurt us?
The time that they spend listening to other shows, they could be listening to old episodes of our show.
I mean, I like that idea.
On other devices.
That is ideal. You get done listening to the most recent episode, fire up that old iPhone you might have in the closet. Maybe you got an iPad you forgot you bought 3 years ago. Fire those bad boys up. Download the podcast app. Just start playing old eps.
I demand
plugged into headphones.
Unquestioning loyalty.
Oh my God. You know what? I think I do too. Alrighty, that brings us to general thoughts, Tim. I mean, let's just get into it. Not their best work.
Not their best work. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But here's the thing. It's not their best work, but it's very similar to their other works.
Yeah,
right?
Follows the same pattern.
Next year, I think we should listen to the first album or a really early album. I would like to see what that's like because each one of the albums, all 5 that we've listened to for this show, super formulaic, right? You've got an intro, a second intro, immediate abandonment of the theme or concept, a song that they actually sing on, a song where they go on a murderous rampage, a song where it seems like it's a literal advert for Faygo with nothing else in the song, a song where they pay lip service to being against racism as if that justifies the rest of this horse shit, weird revenge fantasies, a song where they're kind of incels, etc. Every album has the same songs, basically in the same order, kind of a few switched out details, a few switched out references, and I think we should investigate when that started, what the first iteration was like, and why they cannot make a different album.
Oh, I think we know the answer to that last question, but
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. That we're definitely going to tick off the checklist as we go of your ICP. We could, folks, you could do it really quick. Just take that list that Timbo just rattled off there. Create yourself a bingo card. I don't know. It's probably like an 8x8, maybe a 6x6. probably 5 by 5. Just fill in those various categories because we will tick them off. The intros, the murderous rampage, the anti-bigotry song, the I hope I make it to heaven, the can't believe the beauty in nature. It's all there. So we'll, feel free to pause or keep listening and then start over when you get your bingo card ready. But you can play a little ICPissmass bingo. Tim,
I like
marketing
that.
idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going on that store just as soon as we get that store up.
Yeah. The cover. Weirdly Mardi Gras-y.
Mardi Gras-y. It's one you got death pops on the cover, right?
Sure. But it's like, I don't know.
I see what you mean.
Purple, yellow, green. It's Mardi Gras colors.
That's true. And it does have like the little, I don't know how else to say it, like the little horns that come out around the face there. Usually you got bells on.
Yeah, kind of fleur-de-lis-esque, I guess.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
They really should have made a Mardi Gras album. That's how you do it.
What is a Mardi Gras album?
It's like a Christmas album, but about Mardi Gras.
Okay, I'm going to say this. Okay, actually, I'm so eager to hear somebody do that. But if I could think of one way to make ICP worse, it would be the addition of Zydeco.
Disagree.
Oh my God.
But so according to Joe Brew, this album is supposed to teach us to respect the life we've been given and to do our best to avoid an early death. And he said they use these colors in order to appear harmless. But according to Joe Brew, this character is actually the most dangerous Joker card to date. Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Talking about the theme, because again, we're going to discuss this theme in depth and then we're going to abandon it just like they do. Joe Bruce said, some people play games with their own mortality. They try to impress their friends by doing outrageous stunts and taking stupid chances with death. They gamble. Playing with your life certainly can be attractive because of all the attention and pats on the back and everyone saying how brave and fucking crazy you are. Almost seductive in some ways. When you take big chances with your life, you're obviously not considering the very real possibility of the death pop enough. It's all good and exciting until pop. Then instantly, the fun dies. Shut off. The sudden blackout. The death pop doesn't torture these reckless souls. He just suddenly pulls their plug out. This is a little lame. Mostly these albums are their main villain, their main protagonist, their theme. It's some sort of demon that's deciding whether they go to heaven or hell. It's some sort of demon that's killing racists and rapists and et ceteras. Yep. This one is just like, hey man, you're on that Darwin list. That's who this one comes for. Like,
this guy's buying a ticket to the X Games.
Yeah,
right. Biting, just rubbing his hands together. Soon, soon, Mr. Hawk.
Yeah, the Jekylls and whatnot, the Bang Pow Booms, they're going after, serial rapists, and this guy's just like, hey, why don't you see if you can skateboard on the roof?
I do think you should do that 540. That would be very rad.
Yeah.
Who invited this guy? It's your friend Stinky. I've always been here. I don't think so, man. You're 8 feet tall. You're clearly a demon.
Yeah. Anyway, Stinky's always been a demon. They also attempted to get Jack White to appear on this.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because this is right after they did that Lick Mine Arsch or whatever, the worst Third Man Records single that you for some reason own. And
I do.
For a minute there, they thought, I could do this. We could get him.
We're buds.
Yeah. We are on the same level as Jack White. And they asked him to be on this album, and he said no.
I have to assume that Jack had the same reaction to that single that I did. I can even make ICP awesome. Oh, I failed.
Yeah, it turns out they ICP'd a little on me.
Yeah, went the other way with it. Just made him look like a fool. God, and then me a fool for buying it.
Pissed right on both of your shoes.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Okay, back to this. As you said, it hits a lot of the check boxes from all the other albums. So there's no sense in going through that again. Musically, I couldn't remember is ICP, are they shouty at all? I know obviously they're not like Slipknot, but...
No. I mean, they're kind of rappy and sometimes kind of yelly, but a lot of times they're yelling. It's them doing a funny voice, They're demon yelling or something.
Gotcha. Okay, because this is a crazy statement. Musically, like, I didn't mind this album.
Yeah, there's a couple songs that I made the note. This this isn't terrible, this is fine. From a musical standpoint, this one to me felt a little bit more like 80s in parts. There's some 80s beats. There's some guitar that's vaguely 80s-ish.
Yeah, there's some 80s guitar. The beats felt like early 90s, like definitely dawn of hip hop.
Right. But it had a little bit more of an old school thing. It's less nu metal-y than I was fearing. And I do appreciate that. That's nice. There's a compliment, ICP. This is better than nu metal.
Well done. The last thing I'll say about this album before we get into it for me is 18 fucking tracks. What do you do in ICP? 12 and I might like this album. Well, maybe not like, but I definitely won't hate it. 18 is too many.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a problem with all of their stuff. They have to get like 5 different ideas in every single album. They have so many different, they have like 5 different themes, 5 different like types of songs that they want to jam in here. And they're just going to go for it.
Okay, I said I was done, but I'm going to say it. This is a hot take. Not enough sketches.
Yeah, I don't know.
Here's where they fuck us. When I see 18 tracks on an ICP album, I'm like, all right, 3 of those are sketches. That's fine.
Yeah,
I can handle that.
Some of those are going to be short.
Yeah, and that's not what they did here. Instead, they're like, no, we're just going to put the sketches on the ends of or the beginnings of each song so that you still get the full 18 tracks and all the tracks blend together. It's a concept album.
Yeah, but their concept album is this is an ICP album.
Sure, they completely abandoned the concept. It's a conceptless album.
Yeah.
It's a semi-concept.
I mean, I think that's good to bring us into the song by song.
Yeah. I don't want to overdo it. We've probably taken too long as is. So let's kick it off. Track number 1, intro.
He dead your clock. Who knew?
The mighty death pop.
Now, obviously, listener, don't kill yourself. There's lots to live for. Seek help if you are feeling depressed or suicidal. There's lots of great services in your area if you are feeling suicidal.
I feel like you're about to say something offensive.
Pretty funny way to kill yourself. Right.
I mean, it's a little vague, right?
I mean, no, I'm saying if you are going to, if this character, the guy in this sketch was going to kill himself, I can jump between 2 buildings. Watch me jump between 2 buildings. It's not quite, but it's sort of the equivalent of getting like a really extravagant and functional Batman costume and then just jumping off a building.
I see. Let's get the listener caught up. They open with a sketch. And it's a man whose name is Jeff talking to his girlfriend, Dawn, saying that he can jump between 2 buildings. And Dawn is pretty sure he cannot. And Jeff is pretty confident he can. Now, Tim, out of the gate, are you saying that Jeff always knew he couldn't?
Oh, no. I think he's just stupid. I think it's just if he were going to kill...
Sure.
Yes.
I see it. The delicate sentence.
Right.
If you're gonna do it, why not go out with a laugh is kind of what you're saying.
Yes. I guess you're probably not in the mood to entertain that point.
Yeah, probably not. It's hard to put yourself in that mindset. Don't recommend anybody here do. But Jeff says, I'm a master of this shit, Dawn. I guarantee you I can jump from this roof right here and make it to that roof. No problem. Dawn disagrees. She says, I don't know, Jeff. That's a pretty big guarantee. If you don't make it, you're definitely dead. And this is where I have to go 100% on Dawn's side because Jeff's reply is just rude. He says, watch me fly, bitch.
Yeah, and at that point, you kind of hope he falls, right?
Yeah, you're totally on Dawn's side. Jeff jumps, he dies, we hear him plummet to his said death. And then there has been this weird, faint, distorted calliope music in the background until the death. And that's when the song, I would say, starts. We get Pop, he's dead. This is tough. These lyrics are tough. They say, Pop, he's deaded your clock. Who knew? The mighty death pop. Are you reckless? Pop, didn't expect this. Pop, this is your life. Better respect this.
And we should also say there's a ton of like vocal effects on this, and they suck.
Yeah.
They suck.
They're silly. He deaded your clock. So this is the introduction of the titular death pop. It's implied that he is some sort of demon that preys on fools or people who take pointless risks, right?
It's similar to, again, the Great Malenko or the Bang Pow Boom or the Amazing Jekyll Brothers or the Yum Yum Bedlam, except in that those are the vengeful gods or the vengeful dark carnival people that are killing bad people. This guy's he's got the dummies, the Darwin Award winners. winners.
Yeah, he preys on...
He's like the little brother of Bang Pow Boom or something, and he's not really ready for the big time. He's not really ready to go after, like, an OJ,
Murderers.
for example.
Whoa.
Allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly. Robert Durst. And so he has to just go after just the dummies.
Well, he gets the people that take care of themselves, right? He's not even killing them.
Well, right, yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah. So he's more of a scavenger. He's a hyena, not a lion.
Perfect. We'll see if we can't contradict that here shortly. Then we get our usual circus ringmaster voice, which is one of these dudes with a helium tank hooked up to him, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the mighty Death Pop. Pop, this is your life. Better respect this. Great. Surprise, it's the best way to die. After all, who wants to know he's creeping all up your spine? You're better off getting sucker punched smack dead in your lips with your tombstone." So, I gotta ask, he's some sort of joker or demon that appears when death is swift and sudden, but he's not killing people, right?
Yeah.
At least as far as we can tell.
He's like, you know those the cat in the like hospice that curls up next to the so he's like that, but for skateboarders.
I see. Yes, you should totally grind that rail, bro. It would be sweet.
But also, surprise, it's the best way to die. They seem to be a little bit pro-stupid decision, right? It's the best way to go, or it's the better way to go. You know, who wants to go all slow and painfully? Just, try to jump building to building.
Right. Then they muddy the waters. They say those who entice him and refuse to fear him often pay dearly. They get ejectified.
What does ejectified mean?
Ejected into the afterlife, we'll say.
Okay.
You see a quick flash of his wicked-ass face, and then you croak off. It's that sudden conclusion. Expect it or not, you'll be shocked when your clock stops and your mighty death pop. Does he appear before you're going to die to warn you, and you have to fear his warning? Maybe like a Final Destination premonition? Or because those who refuse to fear him implies that there's a choice.
I think that he also sort of represents, and again, we'll be abandoning this all soon enough, don't worry, but I think that implies that he's a metaphor as well as a literal demon, right? Now, does he appear beforehand? I would say, were I the mighty Death Pop, I would of course appear right at that moment where I know it's too late to turn back, just to, show my face then.
Right. But, you're going to harvest that soul anyway, so it's not like you really have to wait around.
Sure.
Otherwise, I don't know what Death Pop's even doing there.
Right. That's fair.
Song wraps up with, "And when your death goes pop, you will experience a sudden loss of all senses. The big blackout, pop goes your death wish."
Cool.
Yeah. The death wish part of that gets drawn out into a weird long trance beat that then bleeds into the next track, the titular track number 2, The Mighty Death Pop.
Everything stop. You either rise or drop.
So again, as you mentioned, seamless transition from the first intro song into the second intro song, and we have to ask, why? Why does every album have to have two separate introductions to the main character, theme, or whatever that we're not going to follow for most of this album?
I think that one is an intro to the album, and the other is an intro to the theme of the album. And since that theme does not carry through the entire length of the album, they need separate intros.
Ugh.
I don't know.
You know what? I might hate this. Jesus Christ.
Here's a fun fact. Why does this song sample Everyone's a Winner by Hot Chocolate?
Why not?
Well, because it's ICP for one.
That gets really into the rights for sampling, right? Because you're not saying yes to ICP without some serious money. And I suspect that ICP does not have the kind of serious money that it would take to get a established artist to associate themselves with ICP.
I don't know. Everyone's a Winner by Hot Chocolate. Hot Chocolate's probably dead.
Yeah, maybe.
It's probably the son of Hot Chocolate, and he's like, cool, cashing checks.
Marshmallow. Gotcha.
Marshmallow. Clever girl. As far as ICP songs go, this one's actually pretty dancey and not that bad.
Yeah, this was one of the ones I said, it's got kind of a fun beat. I kind of appreciate the backing vocal kind of things, which I believe is at least in
the
part
Hot Chocolate of it all.
Yeah, part the sample. It's not terrible musically.
Sure. Now, let's talk about these lyrics. They say, "Party, it's what you choose. Wild and wicked, you abuse. Well, fuck it. No need to heed. The hell with caution, increase the speed." So we begin by mocking those who think it's a good idea to party hard and thumb your nose at responsibility, which again, to your point earlier, sort of a bummer of an album. These are supposed to be murderous death clowns that, well, thumb their nose to responsibility. And this whole album seems to be like, don't forget your helmet.
Right.
It's
yes, these
so
guys,
nerfed.
what a couple of wet blankets. They're stick in the mud fuddy-duddies. They're spoil sport killjoys, party poopers.
Yeah.
Actually,
like,
you know what?
if
The last one, pooping at a party, that's a juggalo move.
Yeah, classic juggalo move.
Yeah. It's weird from these two guys, it's weird to hear this Billy Pirate Eilish-esque call for responsibility. I don't like it. It does not mesh with the face paint. And it's interesting because this was a decade ago, right? This is
They're
not
about
the
40.
responsible Joe Brew of today who's telling people don't get face tattoos that resemble our clown makeup. This is what should be a much wilder man.
Yeah, but instead, they're making sure that you've had a good 20 minutes after your meal before you're getting in the swimming pool. Who knew?
Fuddy-duddies.
Now, maybe, Tim, we're being a little too critical. They do say, you crazy, don't care about nothing. We'll see when that coffin's shutting. So maybe we just need to dial it back a little bit. They're okay with a good rough house, a good mess about, some hot dogging even. But they're talking about like really pushing it to the extreme. Like you and I will jump off a cliff into a body of water, have done it, seen you do it, know you would, want to do it again. Might not do a backflip off that same body of water.
Not now. No.
Yeah, definitely not now.
I think so. Again, it seems like they are about celebrating life, but with a lot of caution, with some moderation. If you've seen either of them, if you've been sprayed by Faygo by either of them.
Yeah, responsibility is not what their MO. It's not their brand.
If you've gotten syphilis at a gathering of the juggalos and not had sex with anyone, like these are not moderate guys. These are not cautious people, or at least they shouldn't be.
How was the gathering? I got syphilis from a breakfast taco. It was great.
Yeah, it happens.
It does happen.
Rock on, drop that confetti. The death pops when you ain't ready. Hey, big shot, hope you don't get shot. Hey, he comes when provoked. The death pop. Let your balls hang out if you wanna, but don't cry when they get kicked. Get kicked. I guess they're saying, listen, you can do whatever you want. We're not here. This is sort of a libertarian thing. We're not here to tell you not to keep your balls in your pants. You can unzip your fly and take out only your testicles and just let them sit on the front of your pants. But somebody might kick them.
Yeah, that's the risk you take. Now, I used to have a friend named Bill who had unusually large testicles, and they hung low. And he would, in fact, just remove them casually and just have them out.
Well, when you say remove them from his pants. To be
Sure. Yeah, they weren't removable. That is a great clarification. Now, personal anecdote, not just about a friend's balls. I tend to agree with this sentiment, Tim, because there was an evening, or I guess it was a morning, tough to say, sometime a day, when I was in college living alone and was doing some nude cooking, making some eggs. And I did get my scrotum caught on an open cabinet.
Sure. But I mean, that's not the worst thing that could happen because I know you love bacon. And I don't know if you've ever had bacon grease splatter on you. I mean, obviously I cook shirtless because I don't like to get the food smells into my clothes. But usually those smells usually rise. They don't fall. So I keep the pants on. But I have burnt myself on bacon grease on my belly a number of times.
Yeah, it smells up, grease down.
Yeah. I mean, I smell delicious for like a week, but it's very painful.
Genitals.
Right. Well, again, not my genitals because I keep those pants right on, but they would be.
Right.
They would be.
Yeah, no, same scenario. Had I been making bacon, I would have scalded the shit out of my penis. But
now, Garrett,
I wasn't. What?
You always make bacon. Did you?
No, you know what, Tim? Oddly, that cabinet saved my genitals that day. A small scrotal scrape saved me from a severe second-degree penal burn because I was like, oh, better get some underpants on. And then, of course, they were just completely spattered with bacon grease.
Yeah, right.
Listeners, write in. Would you like my bacon grease soaked? That's a callback, just to be clear. But seriously, hatePodMail@gmail.com. You'll get a hell of a deal. Okay, let's see. Is there anything left in here? Every day, throw it up, celebrate life. Because that shit could pop tonight, make noise. If he hears about you, suddenly we're without you. How would he hear about reckless behavior? I assume he is Death Pop in this song. So how would he have heard about your reckless behavior?
Death Pop's got spies everywhere.
He's watching the X Games.
These two clowns, for example, they're narking on Garrett.
Oh my God, I think I know what you're going to say. Say it.
These two clowns are mighty Death Pop informants, and they are blabbing about the activities of juggalos.
Not just activities, Tim, but they are
Instigating.
encouraging
Yeah.
or entrapping. To feed Death Pop.
Okay, yes, they're subtly suggesting, hey, maybe get your face tattooed, so whenever you get tattoo-induced hepatitis, and Death Pop gets you, that's one in their column.
Why don't you just come to this gathering of the Juggalos, where 30% of you will die within 2 years of attending?
Allegedly, but
Super allegedly.
statistically proven.
Yeah, but allegedly statistical.
Yeah. Also, they're not great at rapping.
Well, sure.
We should mention that before we move on.
They're very good at like 1990 rapping.
Yeah, no, that's true. But 1990 rapping, it's so slow, and it's the sort of thing that as long as you don't have to perform it live, you don't ever have to have even read. Like you could convincingly patch it together from maybe 5 or 6 takes while you're reading it for the first time.
Yeah, it's
and there are
Macho
great
Man
90s rapists, of course, but I think the very old, like what you're talking about is that very intro, like we didn't know what rap was going to be yet.
It was much more cute.
Yeah.
It's kind of adorable by today's standards, I guess. Yep. My only question, Tim, because we're going to move away from Death Pop pretty soon here. Does Death Pop do anything to influence your chance of dying?
I mean, if I were Death Pop, I would certainly, but I mean, maybe
That's a different question.
Maybe you've got agent provocateurs that you send out into the world, and they're doing it for you, right? So they're like your familiars. They're going out there, they're tricking idiots into doing stupid stuff, and then you feed.
Yeah. No, I love this theory. This makes tons of sense. Okay. Anything else for track number 2?
No.
Track number 3, Night of the Chainsaw.
Yum! Inhale it and take the swig. Eat my brains up, make my wig.
Another seamless transition into a news report.
This news report is, of course, about a highly dangerous man on the loose with, you guessed it, kids, a chainsaw.
Right. Most ICP albums have at least 2 or 3 of these songs where it's just rampage, right? It's a guy that's running from place to place, slashing, shooting, punching, etc.
You're reading my notes.
This is a song, though, that begins at least doing a bunch of drugs and drinking Faygo Sody Pop before the murder begins. I guess it's the drugs' fault?
Well, that's the big question. So the song opens, PCP, meth, mad anti-depression pills, everything spills into one pot. On top of that, I smoke rock. We hear a police siren in the background, and he says, I hear that shit, but I won't stop. So he's Grand Theft Autoing, and this is the big question. Did he make those drugs? Was he making a drug loaf, or was that an accident?
I think, because he said spilled, so either he might have been making a loaf, but he was trying to make a loaf of one thing, and just a bunch of other stuff got in there, so he wasn't really sure what's going to happen here.
Classic drug loaf. Now, arguably didn't need to take it.
Well, Garrett, you made it.
Sure. Can't put those drugs to waste. Maybe take a smaller slice. Let's keep going because I think it really helps tell the tale. In the back of my truck, chuck the chainsaw. Usually chop wood, but that ain't all. It's a bit strange, all up in your mid-range. Cut a hole in your head till I hit brains. Left a cop in a pile. Wild, maybe. It's the night of the chainsaw, baby. So he did a big drug loaf and then started cutting people up.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say, I kind of like the name Chuck the Chainsaw.
That was going to be my question to you. I love naming things. I like naming cars. I like naming stuffed animals. I've even named a shirt. Never named a tool. What's the weirdest thing you've named? Did you ever have a name for that white car you owned?
Jeffrey. That was Jeffrey.
I always called your silver Mustang Lesbian Vanilla Bean. I don't know if I told you that.
Yes, it was. But here's the thing. I don't think we should name the chainsaw Chuck. I think we have a mutual friend named Chuck. I think it would be much more fun if he adopted carrying a chainsaw around at all times for intimidation purposes. Like, that's just his new thing. Here's the other possibility. Maybe, against his will, we turn him into a supervillain by surgically replacing his hands with chainsaws.
Okay, I don't want to go too overboard. I say we replace one arm with a chainsaw.
One arm and one leg. Final offer.
Ooh, I see. I think that's going even further than 2 arms. I think you've gone the other other way with it. We start with the one arm, see how happy he is. Because one arm's a surprise. Two arms, I can't come up with a reason offhand, but I could see him having an issue with that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It goes on. He begins, I think that he's doing a one for me, one for the chainsaw kind of thing with the gas. Because he says, petroleum, inhale it, and take the swig. Heat my brains up, bake my wig. Killing time with no shirt, homie. I love it when the blood squirt on me. Walked into a house, jabbed the door, kicked it in, my victim hid, stuck Chuck in the closet, and I can tell you by the deposit, I got my target. So he's just randomly just chopping up closets, killing whatever's in there.
A lot of questions here. Are people still inhaling gas? Are we huffing gas still?
Well, it's 2012, so yes.
Oh, so yes. Okay.
Right.
That makes sense. And okay, next question. He's just killing random people, right?
Yes.
Very impersonal. Like if you were going to go on a murder rampage, I don't think I'd go with chainsaw. Is that your weapon of choice for a murder rampage?
Well, no, not mine.
Right. You like the trusty garrote wire. What am I saying? Or just your old 1-2 mitts. You like to really feel that pulse slow down. If I were to go on a murderous rampage that it was going to be messy, like a chainsaw, I think I'd go tank.
Well, sure. This is why we were building you the killdozer. But again,
right, the killdozer project.
Fault.
Right. Sure. Just simply fire into said killdozer and those bullets bounce around until they find soft meat.
Yeah. Maybe if we put some sort of like bulletproof glass over the thing, but then you'd probably suffocate.
Right. Maybe we have the driver of the killdozer in like a suit of arms.
Ooh, I like that. Because then he's
like a medieval.
Yeah, he's like his own killdozer inside. Yeah, you know what? In. Yeah.
All right. Killdozer project's back on, Gino. Put it on the whiteboard.
Gonna be like August though. Before it's so far over budget.
I don't want to know about that. Let's see. A loony loose, chuck full of juice, begging's no use, I knows no truce. If you noose about to see your own produce, Night of the Chainsaw, written by Joe Bruce.
Well, hold on. He doesn't say Joe Bruce. He says Joe Brew, and then it sort of trails off. I think he says Joe Brew.
I don't think so.
Vindicated.
Gonna need a ruling, Gino.
He's asleep.
Gino with a thumbs down. That's a thumbs down for Tim. Joe Bruce.
Yeah.
Track number 4.
Oh, also, we should just say we're moving right past the dog murder because I don't like it.
Yeah, of course. Boy, I might hate this album.
Track number 4, Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit, no longer steering, lost all control.
First single from this album for some reason, although their singles aren't really like a traditional single. It's not like a single in the way it's like this is getting airplay.
Right. It's just the first song they released. Should I give everyone a small amount of history about who Chris Benoit is?
Sure. And before you do, I will say, so there's going to obviously be some unpleasantness here. I was unaware of the timing of when this came out versus when the unpleasantness was. So I had some hope because I know they love wrestling.
They do.
I had some hope that this maybe came out before, but no. It's 5 years after.
Yeah. So over a 3-day period from June 22nd to June 24th in 2007, wrestler Chris Benoit, 40 years old at the time, a Canadian professional wrestler with the WWE and living in Fayetteville, Georgia, decided to murder his wife Nancy and their 7-year-old son before killing himself by hanging from his lat pull-down machine.
Yes. Now, we should say that part of that was most likely influenced by massive CTE.
To some degree, certainly. I mean, it's safe to say his brain was not functioning properly.
Right. But this is in poor taste, I guess is what we're saying.
Yeah. So let's state the obvious. 1, why would you do this? 2, shockingly subtle given the title.
Sort of. I mean, what they said about this, I don't know if you read into any of it.
Maybe. I don't remember.
They said, people need to understand the song wasn't about Chris Benoit. It was named after the most public case of what we're talking about, which is a man fucking losing his shit. Like in the blink of an eye, like a stress collapse, you know? How much weight can you take before one extra little ounce is too much and you break? And the most public case known, I mean, recent, is Chris Benoit. But it's not about him. It's about that losing control. Imagine seeing your hands do something you can't control. Like you're watching your hands through your eyes. You murdered somebody and you're like, what am I doing? That's a fucking nightmare to me. That's so scary to me, man.
That's not what happened, though.
No. And even if it was, it's still in poor taste.
Well, so I even up to the moment of listening to the song was like, maybe it's not about what I assume it's about. But then it opens with a catastrophic demise, 4 times in a row, followed by unmeasurable regrets. It's not great.
Yeah.
And okay, so you get through that. You get the 4 and then the 2 of those 2 haunting statements. And I'm still thinking, okay, maybe they're going to try to be like tasteful or how sad or how regrettable. But then they start rapping about the thing that Tim described, and I'm completely confounded. They say, shit builds up, fills up, too much goes overboard. What the fuck am I doing? Oh Lord, pressure stored, exploded, unloaded. What the fuck am I doing? I had to. It's really too bad too. Went cuckoo, gone mad, dude. This is not blowing up at someone at the end of a hard day. This is not misplaced anger for a situation out of your control. This is a murder-suicide.
Right. Yeah.
What in the world?
And that's the thing. Like, the way they describe it and the way the lyrics flow in this song, it appears as though they're saying, listen, there's only so much you can take before you murder your boy and your wife. And that's not true for most people. Like, it fits in really well with their general theme of, you know, the rampage songs, the I'm going around stabbing people. Here's the difference. This guy did that in his house. He went on a rampage in his house.
And it wasn't like the last straw. He didn't come home and be like, what do you mean you didn't make dinner? He was a deeply disturbed man with serious brain trauma.
Yeah.
Like,
what we're saying is this is in really poor taste.
Yeah, like we're really uncomfortable. You'll notice we haven't made a lot of jokes. Let's continue. No longer steering, choosing, on autopilot cruising. Haywire crash virus, pull your tongue out with pliers. Chris Benoit. They're sort of letting him off the hook with this.
Well, sure. Yeah, Garrett, there's only so much you can take. And it would be different if this was an exploration of like
why did he do this?
Yeah, or if they had said before, like, this is about CTE, this is about brain trauma, this is about how fucked up a person can be from like these contact sports, from war, from this, you know, the blast trauma, that kind of thing. That's what this song is about. That's okay. That makes it, I mean, it's still weirdly phrased in the song, but that's not what they're doing. It's about a man who just can't, it's not about Chris Benoit. It's about a man like Chris Benoit, who is the straw that broke the camel's back, that camel, of course, being his wife and son, and then himself.
Yeah, we could just say murder-suicide.
Right. But I wanted to hit hard because Jesus
It's hitting
Christ.
so hard.
Yeah, that's fair.
Song continues. No longer steering. No longer steering. Lost all control. Lost all control. Manipulation. Manipulation. It won't let me go. My question is, manipulated by whom?
Right,
Who's manipulating?
This
Are
is
we putting
not
it at the feet of Death Pop?
This is not the work of the mighty Death Pop, right? Because this is not somebody who just made a really dumb decision and as a result died, right? This isn't a hold my beer situation. This is incredibly inappropriate for what they claim this album is about.
They make it out to sound like it was a lawn dart incident. Like, fuck around and find out.
Right.
No, this is a murder-suicide.
Right. This is
tragic as it gets.
I was on a plane with Mike Tyson and he just kept snoring until finally I just slapped him and was like, hey, be more considerate.
Next thing I know, I wake up 3 months later. I have so many more notes about this song, but as I read it, I think we should just move on.
I want to read one more line from this song that's about Chris Benoit. Unleash the beast is what they say. Unleash the beast. Okay. All right. You know what?
I'm going to read one more line from this song, and I think I'm going to win. On any given night, I can take you out permanently because life is about pain. I'm the crippler, Chris Benoit.
Yeah, you win. Let's move on.
A catastrophic demise.
Track number 5, The Blaster.
They was hurtful and mean, especially this one fucker, Kurt Green.
Okay, guys, that's where we're going to leave off this week. This thing is 18 tracks long, and this episode came in at a solid 2 hours plus. So rather than have you guys banging your heads against the wall and screaming at your phone to just make it stop, we decided to split it into 2, leave you thirsty for more. So next week we'll be back with part 2 of the Mighty Death Pop. Until then, of course, on behalf of myself, Tim, Gino, Tom Rady, all 43 of the remaining interns, and of course those lost souls from the previous World Headquarters, a very merry Pissmas. As always, if you can, on whatever platform you're listening to this very podcast, let them know you like it, rate it, review it, subscribe, follow, whatever it is your various platforms have you doing, please go ahead and do it. And you can also reach out to us on Instagram, that's HatePod. Twitter is Album HatePod. I'm G Harvey Tweets on Twitter. Let's see. We've got subreddits, Discord servers, all the things. Search the internet. There's hatepod.com. That has probably half of our episodes because I am currently working on a new website and have given up on updating the old one. So that'll come hopefully in the new year, to be determined. That's going to do it for us this week. As always, for Why I Hate This Album, I have been one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey, off mics and currently decorating a Christmas tree, Timothy Richardson. We'll be back next week. Until then, Merry Pissmas.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs. The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. Full of salt on both your ears. The riffs are too repetitive. The lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides. The cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week. Now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.